It is with profound shock and sadness that we can confirm that Green Party MP Efeso Collins has died. We are absolutely devastated. A beautiful family has lost a dedicated father, a husband, and a community leader. The news has come as a profound shock. And our absolute priority is to Efeso's wife and to his young girls. Aotearoa and the Green Party have lost one of the kindest, most dedicated champions of fairness. Efeso collapsed whilst taking part in the Child Fund water run in Auckland. Child Fund works to bring safe, clean drinking water to children in the Pacific, and it was a cause that was very dear to Efeso's heart. The on-site medical team went immediately to Efeso's aid and did everything that they could to revive him. And we're very, very grateful to them for acting so fast. Our thoughts are also with everyone at Child Fund, the volunteers and the staff, whose work Efeso admired so much. Efeso dedicated his life to serving and making a difference to the lives of those that he met, including his constituents, his colleagues, his friends, and his family. He held the deepest respect of the members of all political parties and communities. We will continue to aspire to the dedication and to the commitment that Efeso showed to always put the greater good above our own. He showed us what that means every single day. We will miss Efeso dearly, but we celebrate with gratitude the contribution that he has made to Aotearoa. We ask that the privacy of his family be respected above all in their time of loss. My understanding is that at 2 o'clock there will be statements in the House from myself, from the Prime Minister on behalf of the three government parties, from the Leader of the Opposition, and from the Leader or Co-Leader of Te Pāti Māori, and the House will then rise for the rest of the day and possibly for tomorrow as well, though I haven't had final confirmation of that. At some point we will schedule a full tribute in the House, but you understand today was not the day for that, because this event only happened this morning, and many of Efeso's closest friends and colleagues simply won't be in the House this afternoon, because alongside Marama, a number of them are flying to Auckland to be with his family and with each other and their community. Yeah, okay. Any questions? We are absolutely devastated. My experience of Efeso, and I, have only come to know him in the last few years, as opposed to, Marama and Tiano, who have known him for decades of their lives, and many other, particularly Labour MPs, who are colleagues of his for a very, very long time. But my experience of him is that he truly was the most beautiful man, with just an orientation of love. He was deeply committed and steadfast in what it is that he believed in and stood for and championed, but did all of that with a sense of grace and with love, as opposed to the kind of punch and Judy spirit that you get a lot around here. I was really looking forward to seeing him perform in the House, and I was very grateful for having served a long time, for such a short period of time alongside him. Look, we thought it was going to be a normal parliamentary day, so a number of our MPs were in select committee, staff were at their desks, we were shaping the day's questions for question time and so on. So we weren't all in one place. I personally found out, essentially we found out through the media a short time after he collapsed, and we didn't know what the situation was at that time, so it took a little bit of time for that to emerge. Well, his contribution as a community leader, particularly in South Auckland, as a member of the board there, as a member of the Auckland Council, and as a Pacifica mayoral candidate for our largest city, I think gave enormous hope to a lot of Pacifica and Māori people, particularly people from really disadvantaged backgrounds. To see someone like him step into that leadership role, I think was really significant, and there will be others who follow in his footsteps because of him. We have not spoken to his family. Our understanding is, we have to be appropriate about these things. The police had to get in touch, and Marama and a number of our other MPs are on their way to be with his family now. And in the last hour or so, someone may have spoken to them, but I don't have first sight of that. He was a truly family-oriented man, and he was only able to be here with the support of his family, and he did everything he could to be a leader in his community, and to do right by his family and do everything he could to support them. But he always acknowledged that it was only because of them that he was able to be here. And actually, his love for his family essentially extended to all families. He was the idea of family was important to him. There's one moment in particular in his speech where he talks about love, and that's not a word that you hear often in Parliament and in the debating chamber. But the fact that he chose to talk about love, to me, says volumes about who he was. Well, we were tremendously proud to start to have people from Pacifica communities as part of our caucus. Tiana was our first Pacifica MP, Efeso was the second, and kind of hugely connected to that family. I really want to acknowledge, though, that he was with the Labour Party for several decades before he was with the Greens, and he has many deep and long relationships with colleagues in the Labour Party, with volunteers, with staff, with members of Parliament, and with councillors and board members, and so on as well. So, I do want to acknowledge that from a political perspective, it's certainly not just the Green Party that's feeling this. He was also, like I said, he was very grounded in his values, but he wasn't a sort of a partisan, player. And so I think it was clear he had respect across the House for being someone who was kind of very clearly rooted in his values, but who was willing to work with anybody in order to advance those.
James, have you put any thought into the kind of wraparound support that you and Marama and others in the party would like to wrap around your MPs and the Green Party staffers?
Well, you'll appreciate that this is very fast moving, and that we've only had the news for a few hours. We've discussed bereavement leave with the Speaker, and we've essentially said to all of our staff that those who want to take bereavement leave can. We've got on-site counselling coming in to make themselves available to all of our staff and all of our MPs. As we get a little bit more time, we will look at what else we can do, but that was our sort of immediate first steps. Joe? There's actually no one here who was around then, but there are members of the party that we, I think will probably be recalling that today, especially as someone who, Rod also had a very kind of warm, loving disposition, including with the people he disagreed with. I was living overseas at the time. My observation of the way that was handled was that it was done with tremendous dignity, and that the most important thing was to stand with who he was and with his family, and not to worry too much about, the kind of issues of the day and so on. And that's the orientation I'd like us to have here as well. Sorry. Yes. Well, it might explain why he was a Green Party MP, and the way that I interpret that is that is about understanding that our strength comes from diversity, that it's having all of those kind of unusual characters and mainstream characters, and whoever, people from all sort of different backgrounds and orientations, to be able to coexist and to work together for the common cause. Yeah. Great. Yeah, we appreciate that greatly. And I spoke to Chris Bishop, and I spoke to the Prime Minister, and Marama and I, and Ricardo in his role as our whip, spoke to the Speaker of the House this morning. The reason I said it wasn't confirmed is because you'll appreciate that we've kind of got to get agreement from every party for how it goes. So those conversations are a little fluid. Well, look, I've received, really genuine, deep sort of messages from people from all parties. We've had MPs from the Labour and Party and Te Pāti Māori, who kind of come, that's where a lot of his relationships were. It is in moments like this where actually you get to see sometimes Parliament and parliamentarians at their best, in the sense that, there's a kind of a real scrap going on in Parliament, between the government and the opposition right now over any number of issues, and yet, without any doubt, everybody just said, look, this is bigger than all of us and bigger than that, and have changed tack accordingly.
Have you had a chance to see many members of your caucus today, and if so, how they're doing?
Yes, we had a all-hands meeting at about 10:15. Not every MP was able to make it to that because some of them were off-site at events and so on. And we had MPs and staff all in our caucus room, and it would be fair to say that everybody was absolutely devastated at the news.
A bit more about the sort of gap he will leave and the sort of significance, I guess, of having someone's career cut short so considering he was making his maiden speech last week?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said that they wanted to acknowledge that in many ways he's a 50-year-old man like I am, but in many ways in his parliamentary career and his contribution was only just beginning. He only just gave his maiden speech last week. Although I'm not going to be here, I was really looking forward over the coming years to seeing, him flourish here, because he was such a genuine, authentic, warm human being with just absolute respect for everybody else as a human being, regardless of their kind of political stance or behaviour or anything like that. That's a model of politics and politician that I admire and I aspire to. I would hope that more people who will follow, who are here now and who will follow him, would live up to that kind of standard. Yeah, the one that springs to mind was it was actually at our candidate list ranking conference, which would be about a year ago, when I took quite a long time to kind of sit with him and he talked to me about the sort of both the political journey that he'd been on, and he talked about some of the experiences that he'd had with different diverse communities that had shifted him on some of his positions, and that was when I kind of fell in love with the guy and thought, look, here is someone who I think could be a great politician, great member of Parliament, because he had an openness, a non-defensiveness, a sense of humility about who he was and his place in the world, whilst also having that strength to kind of keep going and keep doing this sort of work. And that is an incredibly rare combination of characteristics. Because he was a decent human being, and he was decent to other people. Thanks, everybody.